Good day, everyone. Eric Olsen from Helps on Helps YouTube Live. Glad to have you here. Trust you can hear me okay. It's Tuesday, August 19th. My name's Eric. I've been an attorney for 46 years, the founder of Helps. Helps is a national law firm. We have two missions. Number one is we protect seniors from debt collector harassment. Next mission is to educate seniors about their financial rights and how they can maintain their financial independence. And that's what we do here at Helps. And if it's your first time listening to one of our videos, we'd like to encourage you to listen today. And we have lots of other videos you can look at. We talk about lots of questions people have. You can ask questions in the chat feature, and I have things also that I can talk where people have asked us questions. And the title today is, to start with, is how debt settlement scams seniors. Okay, so I'll just give you an example. Okay, I'll see if I can get this this picture up front. There we go. So I just happened on this. I Googled debt settlement for seniors or something like that, and here's an advertisement from a law firm. Don't know anything about them. All I know is their article. I'm going to talk to you about their article. So I'm not going to say anything bad about these guys. I'm just going to say what they say. Debt settlement during retirement. And it starts out by saying debt settlement is often a good idea for many Georgia residents. And then it came out with an article. They talk about an article from the National Council on Aging. Oh, that's actually how I found this. I Googled National Council on Aging because they have published a lot of articles that lack information. And it talks about the problems with seniors. And then it goes on, debt settlement for seniors with medical and credit card debt. If you're age 65 or older and struggling with debt, you should speak with a lawyer about a debt settlement as an option. By entering a debt settlement agreement, you can repay just a percentage of what you owe. The creditor will agree to forgive your remaining debt. Debt settlement agreements are especially common for debtors of all ages with credit card debt. Not really, but that's what they say. Then contact our Lilburn debt settlement lawyers, and you click on that. Okay, so that's it. So what's wrong with this article? Debt settlement for seniors with medical and credit card debt. What's wrong with it? Pretty simple. Nowhere does this article mention at all the fact that if you're a senior getting Social Security, pension, disability, VA benefit, that your income is protected by federal and state laws, that it can't be taken from you. And if you choose not to pay that debt, your income can't be taken from you. It's available for you. It's even protected in your bank account. Okay? You don't have to use it to pay a debt you can't afford to pay. And the seniors that have debt problems are normally the seniors that are lower income or poor. Seniors that have plenty of money, they're okay. They can handle it on their own. But the seniors that are struggling financially, they're lower income. And to encourage a senior to go into debt settlement or tell them about debt settlement without letting them know that their income is protected, which these companies, with rare exceptions, will not tell a senior their income is protected. Instead, they'll sign them up, put them into utter poverty, making a payment they can't afford to make. We talk to these seniors all day long that call Helps. And so that's, a message we want to get out to you. If you're signed up with a debt settlement company and you're a senior on Social Security or a pension, and you were never told that your income was protected, then you weren't given complete information. Why weren't you told that information? If you were told that, you would have realized you don't need to pay the debt. They can't do anything to you, and you could use the money for your medications and for your food, for your rent, for your utilities. Lawmakers have protected your retirement income. Can't be taken. There's even a law in effect that protects twice the amount of your Social Security or federal benefits deposited in your bank account. That sum is protected, even if there's other monies in it. In the event that someone sued you and got a judgment, You got 1,500 in Social Security, 3,000 in your bank account is protected automatically, even if money in there came from another source. So, and then there's almost like an effort by creditors, collectors, and these debt settlement companies, even the nonprofit ones, to withhold this valuable information from seniors, the fact that their income is protected. And I want to get this message out at the beginning today because I've just talked to people all the time, and I get flustered with seeing how they're not given correct information. Okay, see, everything that the article said was right, but they withheld the most important information that seniors needed to know, is that their income is protected. Okay, you should know that. So if you have any questions, put them in the chat, teacher. So this person calls us from Florida. They say, I talked to someone at Helps a few days ago. This is an email we got. It says, I would like to get help for credit cards I can't pay. Thanks. Name's Ron. Okay. Well, that's the people that call us. Probably the number one reason seniors call us is because they have credit card debt they can't afford to pay. There's other types of debt too. We get seniors calls that may have medical debt they can't afford to pay, may have a problem with taxes of some form. Maybe they have a car payment they can't afford. Maybe they have difficulty with a house payment. Um, maybe they have a payday loan. Maybe they've been sued for no debt and they don't know what to do. We help people, seniors and disabled persons who have these financial problems. HELP stands for Help Eliminate Legal Problems for Seniors and Disabled Persons. So not only do we help seniors, but we help younger people too. What do you do? What do you need to do to qualify for helps? Well, not a whole lot except get protected income like Social Security, pension, disability, VA benefit. Maybe just a small job is okay. Maybe you're going to retire in a few months. We don't turn anyone away that needs our help, that qualifies for our help. We don't turn anyone away. The cost is minimal. About 1 out of 6 or 7 of our clients get our help for free. We're not worried about the cost. We just need enough money to be able to keep the phones on and be able to send letters out to debt collectors so they leave you alone. And if you have any questions about us, you can always call. You can always look at our comments. You can look at the comments people that make on these YouTube videos. Our helps members, I think they're pretty much universally happy. They should be, because they don't have to worry about debt anymore and creditors can't harass them. See, there was a law passed in 1978 called the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. That law provides if you're represented by an attorney, debt collectors can no longer call you or send you demand letters anymore. They have to leave you alone. So when people find out about helps, they call us on the phone. We ask them questions. We save the information. They may call us 2, 3, or 4, or 5 times. And finally, when they decide to enroll, we can enroll them right on the phone. We click a button and we keep you on the line. You're going to get an email from us confirming you're a member of Helps. It has all our contact information, gives you instructions how to get us the collectors you want to hear from. We need the name, address, account number. We don't need the balance. And our goal is within 24 to 48 hours to send out a cease and desist letter to that debt collector so they leave you alone, or that collector. We don't want. And then the magic about Helps is that you can always call us if you have a question. I don't care how many times you call. You can call every day if you want. Okay? I would rather have you call than you be worried about bothering us and being sitting at home worried. No. Helps was founded so that seniors would always have someone to call. And the magic about Helps also is our representation is ongoing. It's not just one time. Normally you see an attorney, he's just, he's there to solve a problem and he's gone. But with Helps, you're a client literally forever. So if you got a new collection notice 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years down the road, whatever, then you get that to us. We'll send a cease and desist letter to that new debt collector so they leave you alone. If you got sued down the road for a debt that you hadn't paid, get that information to us. We'll call you, explain to you why you're going to be okay, why you don't need to go to court, why you're going to be fine. Okay? We help people in all 50 states. We don't want you to worry. That's the most important thing. because you don't need to worry. So this person contacted us from Alabama. Debt collector is suing me over old debt. Received a summons today for $6,000. I'm retired, 66 years old, and am caring for my 75-year-old wife who has dementia. I need to resolve this. Well, there's really nothing to resolve. I mean, it's already resolved. Um, if you're retired, getting Social Security, pension, your income is safe. It's protected. Um, if you get if you have debt that you're still dealing with and are bothering you, you can enroll in helps. We're going to send a letter to these collectors that are bothering you, so they leave you alone. Now, what about this lawsuit you got? We're going to send them a letter and to the attorney who sued you and explain to the attorney that you're on Social Security or a pension and that your income is protected, can't afford to pay the debt, not going to be paying the debt. We understand they're going to get a judgment. And we remind the attorney of the protected nature of your bank account. Remember how I explained twice the amount of your federal benefit deposit in your bank account is automatically protected by your bank from garnishment, regardless of whether monies are in there or where they came from. So they can't take your income. Okay? Now, if you happen to have more than that in there, you file a claim of exemption or challenge of garnishment, get that money released. Okay? So this guy from Alabama, not going to need to worry. Doesn't need to worry about the lawsuit or any other debt he has. Okay? Um, Eric, Katrina says, what does disposed for statistical purpose mean? It's on my court docket. I don't know. I could guess. Uh, once in a while, well, I don't know. Once in a while, if a creditor doesn't take any action on a case, the court could close the case, could dismiss the lawsuit. Maybe that's what it is. Has something to do with that. Disposed for statistical purpose. Not sure, Katrina. But it kind of doesn't matter if your income's protected. Lawsuits don't matter. People, we don't want you to be sued. Let me be clear. I think when we send a cease and desist letter out to a client, to uh, a debt collector, it probably makes it less likely they would choose to sue you. They could still sue you. Doesn't matter. They can't collect from you. But okay. So Sunset asks, will I be informed if a judgment is renewed? It expires in 5 years in Pennsylvania. Maybe. Um, a lot of times they're required to send a copy of something they file in court to renew a judgment. But some state laws may not require them to send you a copy. Okay. Now, one thing you could do, Sunset, in the vast majority of counties in this country, you can access court records online. Okay. There's been a dramatic change in that from 10 to 15 years ago. A few counties were doing it. Now I think it's probably the large majority of counties that you can get on their court records, and then you can search under your name or the case number, and they'll show all court records for you. Okay, you can find out for your neighbor too if you want to. It's public record. Before you used to be able to go down and it was a little bit more difficult. Now with computer and all this stuff is out in the open. Okay. Okay, Roscoe says, Fingerhut just cut off my account even though I've been paying on time every month. Could this be because I used helps for other accounts? Well, maybe. Um, I let's see. I'm on the computer. I'm saying, what bank backs Fingerhut credit card? See what it says. Web bank. Um, so I'll explain. It's when people call helps, one of the questions we'll ask them, do you have a credit card with a small balance or nothing is owed that you still want to keep? And it's not unusual for a client to want to be able to keep a credit card. And we tell them you can keep that credit card as long as it's not backed by a bank with whom you have another credit card you're not going to pay. But if it's backed by a credit card that you're not paying, if that credit card you want to keep is backed by a bank that also backs a credit card that you're not going to pay, then both credit cards will be closed. Fingerhut is backed by, it says Web Bank or something like that. I don't know. If you had another credit card that was backed by that bank, then yeah, Fingerhut would cut you off. So we don't. It's not the practice of credit cards to terminate someone when we enroll in helps as long as they keep current on the payment and they don't have another credit card backed by that bank. That would be unusual. It's not their practice. Now, Katrina's saying she got her credit card cut off with Fingerhut. Yeah, if you have a credit card and you don't use it, they're going to cut you off. Okay. If you go for I don't know how many months. Okay, but if you have a credit card and you're current on it, you want to stay, keep it. You got to use it every other month at least, even if you pay it off. You got to use it. If you don't use it, then they're going to eventually cut it off. Whether you have another credit card, it doesn't have anything to do if you have another credit card you're not paying back by that bank. Credit card companies will cut off your credit card if you don't use it eventually. And that could be the reason, perhaps. I don't know. But you said that you pay for it every month. So I don't know what credit cards web bank backs other than Fingerhut. You might do a little research and you might find that you have another credit card. That could be the reason. Okay. This person contacts from Ohio. Um, I have two payday loans that I want to consolidate into one. Can you help me with that? I am retired now. No, we don't do that kind of thing. You know, if you have a payday loan, you don't need to, and you're retired on Social Security, and you can stop paying the payday loan, that high interest, really high, take advantage of people type of loan. No, you can stop paying the payday loan. They really can't do anything to you. Okay. We'll send them a cease and desist letter. Sometimes payday loans they're based on the internet. So they could be backed overseas, or they're based on an Indian reservation, or they're based somewhere where they can't be sued. Okay. You can't sue a company that's based overseas. Some companies advertise internet payday loans as though they're something special. The only reason they get an internet payday loan is so that if you don't pay, they can break the law trying to collect from you by scaring you into think you're being arrested or something like that, or you committed a crime. Same thing, a lot of payday loans, more in past times, have based on Indian reservations, because Indian reservations, some federal laws don't apply on Indian reservations. And so some payday loans were based on Indian reservations because they couldn't get sued under the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act for violating collection laws. So if you have a payday loan, no, you don't need to pay. You can stop paying it. Okay. Um, so here's a comment on one of our videos. They said, collectors have started calling me about my debts after they tell me that the conversation will be recorded in its attempt to collect the debt. I tell them, on the advice of my lawyer, I will not talk to a collection agency on a recorded line. Usually they don't know how to proceed after that. Can I continue to use this? Yeah, I don't care what you do. Sure. Why are they telling you that? Well, I suspect maybe what happened is they've been sued before for violating the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. So they've trained their staff real well not to violate the law, not to say something that would be inappropriate. So that way, if someone accused them of saying something inappropriate, then they could bring out the recording and say, here's what we said. It wasn't what you said we said. Okay? Um, over the years, I've had many experiences with debt collectors saying awful things or telling people things that they shouldn't tell. They do crazy things, impersonate people. You know, yeah. I remember one time I was at home. This must have been 20 years ago, maybe 30 years ago. Yeah, it had to have been 30 years ago. And I got a call at night at my home number from a debt collector. A client had given my name and number. And of course, it was after 5, and I was at home. And he wanted to know if I represented so and so and what arrangements we're going to make to pay this debt. And I told this guy, how'd you get this number? You called me at home. It's 7 o'clock. I'm about ready to put my kids to bed or read them a story or whatever. Well, Mr. Olsen, you need to talk to us about the move. I said, you have no right to talk to me at home. Don't do that again. Weren't weren't you trained better? And then I hung up the phone. Believe it or not, he called me back. And he called me back, and I couldn't get him off the line. Finally, said, so the next day I called the company, and they knew who I was. And I said, what are you guys are doing? They say apologized, and then they called me later and they said, we wanted to let you know we let this guy go. I told them, I said, well, I didn't necessarily need you to fire him, but I didn't. Um, but yeah, collectors can, once in a while you'll find collectors that just do things that they're not supposed to do. And people sometimes complain about collectors. You can say something that's perfectly legal, but the tone of your voice can make it almost sound like it is illegal. Okay, I can say one thing in a certain way, and then I can say it in another way. You know, you know, you could say, "Well, Mr. Jones, it sure be nice if you could pay this debt, and maybe you could get some help from your family to help pay this debt that you're obligated on. You did incur the debt." Or you could say, "Well, Mr. Jones, you realize it's your obligation to pay this debt, and you need to make arrangements to do that. And you need to contact your family and maybe get some help." You could say it in different ways. You see what I'm saying? That's what they do. Okay, but you don't need to talk to them. I want to be real that clear. If a creditor calls you, you don't have to talk to them. If you're a senior, you're getting protected income, your income's safe, you don't need to communicate with them. Now, when people call helps, when we enroll you, we tell you, if a creditor calls, tell them you're representing helps, give her name and number, and hang up the phone. Then you get us the address. We're going to send a cease and desist letter, so they're going to stop communicating with you. But there might be a few weeks or a month or so where they might call you before they get that letter from us and process that. Okay. So this person asked, comment to one of our videos. They said, what about property taxes on a house? In the case of a retired senior, can a house be foreclosed on because of back property taxes? Thank you. So, yeah, it is possible for a house to be foreclosed for past property taxes eventually. Usually it takes a while for that to happen. Some states have programs in place to uh, waive or defer property taxes for seniors of lower income. Some states do and some states don't. If you don't have to pay your credit card debt or your other bills because you know about your income being protected and you have property taxes, maybe you could divert that money you were using for those, some of that money you were using for those credit cards to pay the property taxes that you need to pay. You can always call help so we can go over that with you if you have a property tax issue. Okay? Okay. What a person asked, what about a joint account with people collecting Social Security? A lot of these questions I talk about, if you're a regular, you know the answer because I've talked about it before, but we have a lot of new people and that don't know the answer. So what's the answer? I think I talked to someone yesterday, or he called me yesterday. He got Social Security for him, his wife, and a daughter that was disabled. And they were all deposited into the same bank account. And he wanted to know, what I get? Is my Social Security only protected with my Social Security, or is it all three? And the answer is all three. See, if someone were to sue you and get a judgment, then under a rule passed in 2012, a bank examines your bank account. And if they determine that money came from a federal source, such as Social Security, then whatever monies came from a federal source, they times that times 2 for 2 months and protect that amount in your account automatically. It doesn't matter whose name is on the bank account. It doesn't matter how many different accounts come from a federal source. It could be maybe you got a VA pension, maybe retired federal worker, post office worker, get Social Security, whatever. Twice the amount of your federal benefits is protected automatically. As long as you keep, but you don't even worry about losing money out of your bank account unless someone had sued you and gotten a judgment. And then even then, it's highly unlikely. They'd have to know where you bank. And if they tried to garnish your bank account, then your bank technically has 48 hours to examine the account where the money came from. Usually they do it within 4 to 8 minutes. They do it really fast. So your income's going to be protected. Okay. Then another question a person asked, I talk about your bank account being protected. Well, does that include a federal credit union? And the answer is yes. Yeah. This rule went into effect in 2012. It took some credit unions many years to get on board with this rule. We had to educate a lot of credit unions since 2012 about this rule that made mistakes. They're pretty much on board now. We don't have a problem anymore with credit unions not following the rule, the law. But for a while, they were not very well educated on this rule. So if you have a credit union, you don't need to jump from that credit union to go to a different bank because you're worried that they're going to take money if you get sued and they're going to hold it up. Okay? Okay. How do debt collectors know you have a life insurance? I won't be around by my daughter, but my daughter will. Does she pay my burial first and then what's left over? Do the collectors get it? No. If you have a life insurance policy, it's a contract between you and the life insurance policy to pay someone else. And normally it would be, in your case, your daughter. So when you die and you have life insurance, it pays whoever the beneficiary is. And that's usually a person, like in this case, the daughter. So she gets the money. Doesn't matter. You could owe $1 million. You could owe the IRS. I don't care who you owe. Doesn't matter. That money is your daughter's money. She can use it for whatever she wants, which includes burying you. Okay. She doesn't have to pay any of your debt with that money. I guess the only exception is if the beneficiary was your estate, but I don't see life insurance policies doing that. It kind of defeats the purpose of a life insurance policy. So usually the life insurance policy pays the benefit to a particular person, has nothing to do with the debt that you owe. So you don't need to worry about your life insurance being used to pay a creditor. Okay. Okay, this person asked, can a medical bill be garnished that I wasn't aware of uh, and did get a served a summons and complaint, but don't know what to do? Please advise me. Can a medical bill garnish me? So apparently he got sued, and he's worried that they're going to get a judgment against him and they're going to garnish him. Well, if you're once again, if your income, Social Security, pension, disability, retirement income, 401k, IRA, any form, virtually any form of retirement, it's protected, can't be taken from you, as I've explained. And he says, please assist me. Yeah, we're going to call this guy back. We're going to go over his rights with him. And if he wants our help to stop the creditors from harassing him, he can enroll in helps. That's up to him. So this person contacts us from California. He said 82-year-old man has $45,000 in debt. His income is from a small pension and Social Security. Says he has stage 4 lung cancer, would like to stop credit card payments and like to stop the harassment. Absolutely, that's what we do. So if you're being harassed by debt collectors with debt you can't afford to pay or don't want to pay, you can call helps and we'll help you. You don't have to pay the debt. We're not a debt settlement or debt management company, which means, when you don't we don't pay debt. You don't have to pay debt. Your income's protected. It's available for your needs. You can look at the beginning of this video where I showed an advertisement from a law firm that does debt settlement. There's a ton of debt settlement and debt management organizations, law attorneys, companies, and with rare exceptions, these companies won't tell seniors that their income is protected. Instead, they sign them up, making them make payments to pay their debt, and they get to keep a certain percentage or a fee. So if they told you the truth, you wouldn't enroll with them. And the problem is there's so many seniors and persons that have debt problems. The market is rife for these companies. And then they can structure their fees so that they get paid a whole lot of money at the beginning. Okay? And then if you've been with them for 6 months or a year and finally you realize, yeah, I can't afford this anymore. This is crazy. Or they ask you, hey, you need to pay more money. And they've been collecting their fees all along. They make big bucks doing this. And some of these debt settlement, you don't have to be an attorney to do this. You can start your own company. Okay? So there's lots of these companies doing assets. And when it comes to seniors, they're literally scammers because they don't give or they commit fraud. One of the definitions of fraud is if you don't give someone the complete truth about a financial matter for your financial benefit. Okay. So if someone has a debt problem and you fail to tell them and they're a senior that their income is protected, in my opinion, you're committing fraud because if you're obligated to be able to tell them that. Instead, you want them to sign up because you're going to get a fee. Anyway, I get up right over it. I'm sorry. Richard says, the bank is calling for missed payments. The card is maxed out. I just can't pay it. The interest is over $100 a loan. I disregard calls, but should I just take the call and tell them I'm done already? Well, no, I don't think you need to do that, Richard. The person that answers the phone, that's not going to stop them from calling. And their only job is to try to get you to pay, and so they're not going to take that as an answer. Okay, but if you're getting Social Security or pension or retirement income, yeah, you don't need to worry about it. Yeah, answering a phone for one of these guys and saying I can't pay it isn't going to prevent them from calling you. Yeah. So this person contacts us and they say, I live in Nebraska. The judgment is for $2,300 medical costs. So do you know if they would lien on my home as the home is in my husband's name, not mine? So am I safe? And they can't garnish my checking account. Well, you know, so if the judgment is against her only, and the home is in the husband's name, then no, there wouldn't be any lien. And I think in Nebraska, I think like Nebraska, Oklahoma, Kansas, some of those middle, there's a lot of states that protect, every state has laws that protect equity in a home, a certain amount of equity. And some states protect the entire equity in a home. Okay. Texas, Florida is example. And some of the, I think Kansas is one, maybe Nebraska, South Dakota. A lot of those states in the Midwest where we used to remember in the old days, they used to have the homesteaders, they would line up their wagons and the gun go off, they stake their property. My grandfather was born in a sod hut in the year 1900 in Kansas. I think his property was homesteaded by his dad. So in those states, the law was really clear. They didn't want people to lose their homes to creditors, so they forbid creditors from taking homes. But they don't take homes now. So no, this person isn't going to need to worry about losing her home, even if the judgment was against her. And can they garnish my checking account? Well, if you like I said, if Social Security is going in your checking account, um, twice the amount of your Social Security benefits that you get or your benefits you get from Social Security each month is protected. So we will have called this person back in Nebraska and answered her questions. And if she was having problems and she wanted our help, we'd enroll her in help so she doesn't need to worry. So this person contacts us from New Mexico. He gets $1,500 in Social Security and $1,700 in a federal pension. So what is that? That's $3,200. Those are both federal benefits. 3,200 times 2 would be 6,400. That amount is protected automatically in his bank account. Let's go on. I'm enrolled in a debt consolidation program. Well, I bet they never told him that his income was protected. He says, I pay them every month and they allocate the funds to my debt, my credit cards. I also pay them a $75 administration fee a month. Can I pay the creditors on my own? Yeah, you could if you wanted to. And then he says, what if I can't afford to pay them anymore? Well, you don't need to pay. You don't need to pay them. I mean, if you wanted to pay them on your own, you could pay them anything you wanted. If they couldn't, nothing they could do to you. They could sue and get a judgment they can't collect from you. So if you wanted to pay them $5 each, you could. Don't need to. What if I can't afford to pay them anymore? He's talking about this debt settlement company or debt consolidation. You don't need to pay. You can stop it. We enroll a lot of people that enroll in debt consolidation. You can call up and cancel it. Ask them to return any money they're still holding for you. Occasionally, we'll even do a conference call if we get a particularly vulnerable elderly client that's terrified to call the debt settlement company they're enrolled with. We'll do it together with them. I used to do that when helps was earlier. I haven't done it for quite a while. Blanca's asking, can you tell me how they can locate my bank account? Well, there's no magical place they can go to find out where you bank, unless you've banked there a long time and maybe they got it as part of your records. Okay. But once again, um, your bank account isn't at risk, Blanca. Remember, if it's Social Security, twice the amount of your Social Security is protected on them, and someone would first have to sue you and get a judgment against you. So if you haven't been sued, there's nothing to worry about. But even if you're sued and they get a judgment, Keep the balance less than twice the amount. Your bank knows the law. It's going to protect it without you having to do anything. Now, if you ask your bank manager about this rule, he's probably not going to understand it or know about it. And I would guess that 999 out of 1,000 attorneys don't know this rule, even though it's been in effect since 2012. Okay? It's just taken a long time but the bank, the department in the bank or the credit union that deals with garnishments, they understand the rule. So you don't need to worry. Okay. That's the whole purpose of helps. If you do worry or scared, you pick up the phone and you call, no matter how often. And sometimes we have to explain how your income is protected in your bank account to people more than once, multiple times. Okay? We don't mind. This person asked, if my car is repossessed, can the bank issue a 1099 and I must pay taxes on the remaining debt after my car is written off by the bank? Is this true? Well, it's kind of like saying this. If if the speed limit on the freeway is 55 miles an hour and I'm going 56 miles an hour, is it possible that the police would pull me over and give me a ticket for going 56 miles on a 55 mile per hour freeway? Is this true? Could they do it? Well, I suppose legally they could do it, but will they do it? The answer is no. And so what about a 1099? So if you have a debt that's over, like, I think $600, you don't pay it, the original creditor can send you what's called a 1099-C, which is a form they submit to the IRS saying, hey, this person incurred this debt, they didn't pay us, therefore we're reporting to you as required, and the IRS can consider that as being income to you that you have to pay taxes on. Now, if your only income is Social Security and you're not required to file taxes, that's going to be the end of it. You don't need to worry about it. But if you do file taxes, you can file, was it 948 or 942 form, the form. And if you're insolvent, which means your debt exceeds your assets, then there's no tax. And there's on the form you check off 1B saying you're insolvent. But even if you did owe a tax, if your income is low enough, which is $2,400 if you're a single person, or $3,400, or even more than that, you could get on currently not collectible status and not have to pay the tax. But so we don't have a problem with our clients having to deal with a 1099-C, 1099 form. Now, obviously, if you were very wealthy and had a lot of income, outside income, and you had to file taxes each year, then maybe a 1099 could be an issue for you, but not for our clients. It's not going to be a problem. Okay? Okay. Oh, here's one. So I did a video with senior living, and I saw this comment this person made to what I said about doing this. It says, nonsense. You should always maintain good credit. Don't take financial advice from fools. Okay. Call me a fool, and Jeff Hoyt a fool. Okay. Um, and I did do a response to that, and I said, sure, pay your credit card debt to maintain your so-called good credit. Then get evicted for not paying your rent, or get your electricity turned off, or go without your heart medicine, or go without food. Yeah, you know, yeah, if you've got the money to maintain your credit, great, do it. But people that need our help, and it helps, are people that are struggling. They don't have enough money for their food, their medicine, or to pay their rent or electricity. They need their funds. Okay, and not only that, you can rebuild your credit. If your credit takes a dive, you can rebuild your credit is based on your recent credit history. We have a Phil Tyrone. We have a called 7 Steps to a 720 credit score. I pay him money every month. Any person enrolled in Helps have been part of Helps for more than 90 days. We send them an email, the video, and they can enroll in this program, and you can rebuild your credit. Okay, so there's an answer. A lot of our clients aren't worried about rebuilding their credit. Maybe when they enroll in Helps, they have a credit card that's free and clear they want to keep. They can keep that credit card. Okay, got to use it occasionally, or maybe they owe a little bit of money on it. They can keep making the payment. See, it's different in bankruptcy. If you file bankruptcy and you have a credit card that you owe nothing on, the credit card company is going to shut that credit card off, even if you it's not listed in your bankruptcy because you didn't owe them any money, but the the banks subscribe to a service that lets them know if someone filed bankruptcy, and they're going to cut you off if you have a credit card with them. Okay. So Jimmy says this. I'm just reading this. My credit union says that a computer watches for income sources and, if needs be, protects it from garnishments. Then it notifies a human in the credit union as to what took place. It does it by looking. Yeah. Um, yeah. I don't know how they do it mechanically, but the law provides, Jimmy, is if a bank or credit union gets a writ of garnishment, and it may be computerized, then they can identify what money went into your checking account or your bank account. And if it came from a federal source, then they automatically protect twice that amount from garnishment. And if it's done by the computer, that's great. Okay. Yeah, you're right. There's codes for the deposit that tells them. Now, what's a federal income? It could be Social Security, it could be a federal pension, Office of Personnel Management, OPM. It could be a VA benefit. You could have worked for the post office. That's a federal benefit, federal pension. You could have worked for the United States Post Office. That's a federal benefit. Okay, those are all protected forms of income. Okay, twice that amount. And when it's deposited in your bank account, it doesn't matter if there's other monies in your account. It could have come from any other source. All the bank has to do, or the credit union has to do, is identify how much money was from the federal source, times that times two, and automatically protect that sum. Even if you had money in there that came from a lottery ticket that you won, or from you sold something, or a gift from a friend or a child or something like that. So Tiger Eyes, how do I get that video for the 7 steps? Just call us on the phone. And if the receptionist doesn't know, ask to speak with one of the intake people. We have a video. We have an email, a form email, or you can text, or you can email us. Ask for that, and it's a link, and we'll give you a link on where you can sign up for that program. Okay. So I've got written down here to talk about Texas receivership issues. So this person called us sometimes in the past. I put this. They had 2 Social Security incomes, and they had a 75,000 free and clear home. That was it. They were older. They were retired. Well, and then someone had sued them, and then they got a letter from a guy in Texas that said he was a receiver, and he was going to come after all their property. But at the end of the little notice they got from the receiver, it says that the law allows. So they've got these local guys They call them receivers in Texas, and it's got to be something from the 1800s. And so they're kind of like a constable. They're not really a sheriff or anything like that, but they're a receiver, and they send these form letters out. An attorney that gets a judgment against you in Texas could ask that a receiver be appointed, and he sends this scary letter. And if you don't know what your rights are, you're tempted to call the receiver or the attorney and make arrangements to pay the debt when you don't have to. Texas has great laws that protect, seniors from garnishment, that protects your home, other assets. They have like a $50,000 wild card. Um, so what I told this person is, when you enroll in helps and you get a letter from that receiver, we'll just write a letter to the receiver and just say, hey, we don't represent this person, but their income's all protected, their assets are protected. Different In different states, debt collectors might use a peculiar state law to help attempt to take a debt, to collect a debt. Remember, a debt collector only has to tell you that they're a debt collector. Any information they use can be used for that purpose. They don't have to tell you what your rights are, but helps will do that. This person, they write and they say, what if multiple members own the real property? Well, it kind of depends. It makes it more difficult for, uh, if you have a home and you and your wife are on there and you and your wife and kids and the debt's against you, if you own it with survivorship rights when you pass, then property goes to the other survivors. It's just a fact that it's not the practice of consumer judgment creditors, if they get a judgment, to go after a person's home or their real property. They don't do it for a lot of different reasons. Okay. Okay. So person contacts from New Jersey. They get 2,600 in Social Security, but then they pay 1,465 in rent, so 1,500. That leaves them what? $1,100 to live on, and the age is 71. That's not a lot of money. Got to pay uh, utilities with that. You got to pay for your food, medicine. He says, my situation is I'm not employed. I'm living on Social Security. I have no property, no car, no pension, no savings. I have multiple credit card debts, most of which I can no longer pay. Nothing has been sent to a collection agency yet, but I'm starting to get some calls from lawyers. I don't answer. I don't know what to do. Well, you don't need to pay it. Your Social Security is protected. You can call helps, and when you enroll in helps, we're going to send a letter to these collectors or creditors you owe money to, telling them that your income's protected. They're going to leave you alone, and we're going to represent you ongoing so you don't have to deal with the debt anymore. We don't turn anyone away that needs this help. A. Reeves asks, has anyone else received an IRS letter referring my case to a collection agency? You're asking other people. Yeah, the IRS does that occasionally, not a lot. You know, once again, uh, yeah, I don't know if you can get on currently not collectible status with a collection agency, but you can with the IRS. And will a collection agency go after your Social Security? Will they offset 15% of your Social Security? They don't have authority to do that. They don't have authority to do that. Only IRS can do that, and then that happens so rare. And if it were, you can get on currently not collectible status. So if you have an IRS issue, call helps. We'll go over that with you. Okay. Um, this person contacts us from Kansas. They contacted us back in November of 2023. And they said, I need the landlord letter. I currently live on the third floor, no elevator building at 69 years. Uh, it's become hard to leave because I have to climb to get home. I applied for a different place last year and was turned down due to student loan debt and an old debt. Unfortunately, I'm still working, making $12 an hour on Social Security, barely squeezing by. So we sent that to him. Okay. What's the landlord letter? Well, we have a letter was sent to any senior, whether a member of HELPS or not, that explains to a prospective landlord that the senior's income is protected. It's Social Security. It can't be taken. And even if they have negative entries on their credit or debt, all that money's still going to be available to pay their rent. And it seems to work pretty good for helping. You show that to a landlord before you apply, before you pay the application fee. And they can tell you, okay, I didn't know that. Yeah, we'll consider your application. Or they'll say, we have corporate policies. You can save money from an application fee. So anyway, that was back in 23. And then he calls, it's like he called yesterday, 2 years later. Yeah, almost 2 years later. And he says, in 2024, I had a stroke. I'm 70 years old. That forced me to stop working. My income from Social Security only barely covers my rent and utilities. I'm being sued by Capital One. Expect problems with Dell computer. I need help. And we called him back a few hours later. He receives Social Security only, has a lawsuit with Capital One, other credit card debt. We read what we did, quoted what his fee would be, reviewed the protections, answered his questions. See, we all had this information on file from 2023. We save information. We enrolled him, obtained payment, and set. And we took the lawsuit information over the phone so that we could send a letter right away to the attorney that had sued him. So he didn't need to worry. That's what we do. We enroll people in help so you don't need to worry. So time has flown, okay? But I will be here tomorrow and also on Thursday. We may change the time on Thursday. I'll let you know tomorrow. I procrastinate, but I may need to change the time for our Helps YouTube Live on Thursday. If it's any time, it would probably be a little bit later. It might start at 3 o'clock Central Time, I'm guessing. We'll see. Anyway, if you have any questions, please call us, 855-435-7787. Press the like button. If you have you can make a comment. Please share what we do. Travis says, I've called your office 3 times and no one can talk to me. They say they call back, but don't. I'm a member. I don't know if that's your last name. I'll try to call you right back, Travis, after we're done. If not, just call helps and ask that I be interrupted, and I'll talk to you. We're busy. We get back to people. Like I said, sometimes, well, I'll see you guys tomorrow. God bless. Bye.